along the way. All right, now this one, let's look at this one. B squared minus 7b plus 10. B squared minus 7b plus 10. All right. So there we have trinomials. So go with the two binomials. I've got b squared. So what does that tell me here and here? Well, this one's b and that one's b, isn't it? What about the last two? Well, the last two have got to come from that 10. So I'm looking at factors of 10 for these two slots here. Well, 10 is 2 and 5, or 10 and 1, isn't it? However, neither one of those sums give me the right thing. This one gives me 7, this one gives me 11. I need it to be negative 7. Okay. The deal is, yeah, you can make a positive 10, and this is, I think, from a question somebody asked earlier. You can do a positive 10 other ways as well. Not only positive times a positive, but can't you make a positive multiply together 2 negatives? Yeah. So don't forget that little fact there. Yeah, I'm doing positive 10, but 2 negatives make a positive, so you can do a negative times a negative when you have a positive. If you need to, in this case, obviously we do. Since our sum is negative, that's pretty well hinting that we're going to need 2 negatives there. And of course, the third one, if we add those two together, we do get negative 7. So how about a negative 2 and a negative 5? B minus 2 and B minus 5? Yeah. Okay. Now, again, that I had 2 negatives. What we might say, kind of a generalization there, is if the last term is positive, we said, if the last term is negative, then one's negative, one's positive, right? If the last term is positive, obviously both of them could be positive, but they also could be both negative. So if the last term is positive, then these signs are, generally speaking, going to be the same. One's negative, the other's negative, or one's positive, the other's positive. So if the last term is positive, they're both negative or both positive. That's kind of the generalization of that. Okay? X squared plus 2x plus 3. Tell me how to factor that one. Well, let me talk about it before you get too far there. Yeah, it's a trinomial, so we'll try our 2 binomial thing. X squared, so it's x and x. We're looking at factors of the 3, which there's pretty limited on that. It's 1 and 3, or possibly negative 1 and negative 3. Right? That's it for 3. Positive 3. Which of those sum to be the right thing? 1 plus 3 gives me 4. Negative 1 plus negative 3 gives me negative 4. I need a sum of 2. Now what would be wrong? I mean, I can get 2 out of that if I do one a negative and one a positive. If I do a positive 3 times a negative 1, but does that work? Nope, because that multiplies to be negative 3, doesn't it? Yeah, these are the only 2 I could use for positive 3. So what's the story here? Well, the story is I just can't factor it as 2 binomials in this format here. This cannot be factored into 2 binomials over the real numbers, but that's all we're going to factor it over. All right. And the polynomials that cannot be factored, as this one can't, yes, they are called prime. Okay, so some, and on the homework there's not a lot of them, so don't just start labeling everything prime just because you can't find it. But there's a couple of them probably that'll be prime. You just can't factor some. Some just can't be factored. Okay. Most of them will, but some of them can't. Just be aware. Okay. All right. Got another one in this category. Let's call it. All right. P squared. Minus 5pq minus 6q squared. This one has two variables. Got the p's and the q's. That's why I mentioned this one. Really amounts to about the same thing. I've got p squared, so that's obviously p and p. And yeah, the thing the q's throw into it is, well, I am going to do minus 6q squared here and here. So as far as the variable goes, what does that tell me here and here go? Got to have a q here and a q here, don't we? Yeah, just the same as p squared. If I'm going to split up a q squared, you've got to have a q here and a q there. Okay, just the same. Now, of course, the numbers, I'm looking at negative 6 to factor it, right? Factor pairs there. Negative 6 is 2 and 3. But it's negative 6, so one of them's negative, one of them's positive. So I can do a negative 2 and positive 3 or negative 3 and positive 2. Either one of those going to work out? Neither one of those works out. Why not? If you add those together, you don't get the right thing. That's positive 1. Right? Negative 3 plus 2 gives me negative 1. I need it to be a negative 5. So what else is there? 6 and 1. I could do a negative 6 and a positive 1, couldn't I? Negative 6 plus 1 gives me negative 5. So that's it. So I want to put a negative 6q and a negative 1q, a positive 1q, sorry. Okay with me? Question or concern? So yeah, if you've got the q squared or whatever variable squared, just put one on one side and on the other factor as well. All right, anything on that? Okay.